Okay, so make your devices easier to see. We've talked a little bit about how with low vision, less can be more in terms of accessibility. Like, don't make it too big because then you're taking away the ability to have more on the screen at a time, the larger you make it. Start with your built-in accessibility features on devices. If those aren't sufficient, then start working out. I mean, that's been a really big theme of AT Forward from the start is start with what's the most available to you and then work your way outward. Because if it's already available on your device, why aren't you using it? Well, probably because you don't know it's there. So that's the important thing is learning what's there and how to use it. So in the following slides, we're going to talk about how to get to some of the accessibility settings on different devices. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, but it will answer the question about using the screenshots, I think, a little bit because I used screenshots to explain this. So actually works out.
Perfect.
So for the latest features, by the way, always see the manufacturer's website or use your favorite search engine because people are always changing something. And God knows, even if there's a tiny update to your device, it can really change the way accessibility is done. So if you're really looking for, if the resources here aren't meeting the need, go out there and do an internet search or ask your favorite Copilot about your Microsoft stuff, ask your Gemini about your Google stuff. I like to say that just because they're going to have your most common information because, that's who makes their AI. Windows Vision accessibility settings. So this is where I'm talking about screenshots here. So Windows accessibility settings, there's the options under accessibility. So what I did for these is I wanted people to know what was in this screenshot. What I did was I pretty much tried to find a way to describe the screenshot in the text around it without saying the heading says accessibility. Under accessibility are the following blah, 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 blah. I didn't need to do all of that, but I wanted the screenshot information to be in the text. So I just found a way to do that that made it make the most sense. Sometimes if the surrounding text is already explaining what you're going to see in the screenshot, if you're talking about like alt text of the screenshot itself, a lot of times my alt text will say, this screenshot shows the Windows accessibility settings as described in the surrounding text. And that way people will know that I made an effort to give alt text that related to the description here. I'm pointing at my screen with my finger. I know better than to do that, but here I am doing it anyway. You guys. So does that answer your question, Stacy, regarding the screenshots?
Yeah, that's helpful, Amy. Thank you.
Okay. So coming back on the Windows Vision accessibility settings, this is how you would find those. This talks a lot about where you're going to find the settings for different devices, for Mac vision accessibility, Android vision accessibility. And as you can see, each screenshot is pretty much described here, iOS. And here are some resources here that cover some third-party software that are not built in to your device itself. Tailor your tech to try. So, by the way, does anybody have any question about like built-in accessibility at all? Because we're getting close to the end here and I want to make sure we cover everything we can get.
So far, no questions.
Okay, cool. All right. So with all technology, it's really tempting to grab it and try it. And honestly, sometimes trying technology that hasn't been selected with the student and vision and condition in mind, that can be a lot of disappointment and a lot of frustration. Think of it as like the taste aversion, but for technology. Like you think like that one flavor will be really good, and you take a huge bite of it, and then you immediately never want to drink it again or eat it again. Sometimes it's that way with technology. You try something and you're so disappointed in it that you just can't look at it again. So it's important to really consider the student's vision impairment and their vision loss and other factors before you start tossing tech at them to give it a shot, which is why it's really super important when you're looking at technology for a student to involve their teacher of visual impairments, because they will have a lot of information. So why can't I just make it bigger? Magnification is bigger is not always better, because what's often you're magnifying a blurry thing. If you aren't wearing prescription glasses and you make something larger, you're just making something larger and equally blurry. And if you think about it, vision impairment also, if you have a field loss, if you're looking at that refrigerator and trying to find the ketchup while wearing a toilet paper tube on your eye, making that object larger is going to fit less into that toilet paper tube. I swear, try it sometime if you have never done it, like ever since you were a kid playing pirate, because, let's be honest, that's what we all did with toilet paper tubes when we were 8. But as an adult, it has a totally different meaning. Give it a go and see how it makes the world around you look different. It's really different. So making it bigger isn't always making it better. And tech examples, starting with less is always more. So here are some examples of different technologies you can use. And we're gonna go through them a little fast. But you have your low-tech options that are over-the-counter choices, inexpensive, easy to find. You can probably pick it up at the Walmart. And then you've got your medium to high-tech options that are probably going to be a little more specialized. And we'll talk about what they are and why. Low tech, there we go. I'm sorry. Come on. There we go. Low tech options, magnifiers. Magnifiers can be a lot of sizes, strengths, held on stands, with or without lights, all of that stuff. Sometimes if you're talking about magnification, you want to involve somebody who's knowledgeable about it. But often, especially with your, lower level vision impairments, you can find a magnifier that will help them. For example, they have a prescription bottle and they need to know which pill it is, or they have a map and they just need to read the names of the countries. A magnifier will help with that. They don't need to do anything big with it. They just need to be able to read some of the smaller print on this, page in the map, which, by the way, was my least favorite thing about 7th grade, I promise you. Reading maps. Oh, God, tiny little buggers in an atlas. Anyway, so there's a lot of different types. You can go online on Amazon. That's the last one I bought my dad. Got it on Amazon. Other low-tech options, reading stands. Think about posture. Okay. Apparently, at this age, all you have to do is sleep funny. Okay. I'd like to say that my neck hurts because I was running with the bulls in Pamplona and tripped over a high heel. That's not what happened. What happened is I slept funny. But what also happened is that I had bad posture. And bringing up your materials on a reading stand in front of you will help reduce the stress on your neck and will also bring it closer to make it larger for your student. They will thank you when they get to be in their mid-40s and wish they had injured their neck by running with the bulls in Pamplona instead of sleeping funny. So there are all sorts of reading stands. Again, Amazon is your friend. Walmart is your friend. You could probably even go to readingstands.com and find something for all I know, but I guarantee you they're all over the place. I found some on Temu one day, but they can make a huge impact. Some of them are very nice. They bring it up very nice. Sometimes some of them have like nice little raise lower options on them. They're great. More low-tech options, lighting stands are fantastic. We talked about how important lighting can be. They can be a huge impact. Lighting temperature is important. the kelvins, the hue, if you spend too much time in the light bulb aisle at your local Home Depot or Menards, and you'll learn more than you ever wanted to know about output of lights. And if you do research, there's a lot of really neat information on how what temperature of lighting and what lighting works and what it does and how it can affect how you see things. Temperature, volume, all that good stuff. But what's really especially good about it is that you can have targeted lighting, especially with lamps that have like these necks on them, that you can target onto the paper. If the student needs to have brighter light, if light bothers them, you can have lighting, but have it away from the paper, but still have the light available. Lighting is a huge deal. And if you are working in a school with fluorescent lighting, I'm so sorry for you because I do, and I absolutely loathe it. Just because that bright light can be, there's studies about how it not only affects vision, it can affect attention, it can affect all sorts of things. I really don't think enough attention is paid to lights. There's a lot of low vision options. Printing assignments on beige, yellow, or light blue paper. That'll reduce glare from the white background. Color overlays. That is a big thing. Another thing that doesn't get enough attention. That can affect so many things aside from vision. Enlarge your font. Large print is great. Large print is technically supposed to be 16-point font or larger, but work with your student to vision impairments to find that size and that font that work for your student. Those are your lower tech options because you can get those at, like I said, the Walmart or whatever. But there's other things, handheld video magnifiers. And if you contact WCBVI, shameless plug, we have a loan library for your student available for teachers of the vision impaired. We have a variety of video magnifiers with different sizes so that you can overlay those devices on a book, on a map, on a other thing to read it, make it larger. These are nice handhelds, but I like these kinds, especially for young kids, because again, it brings, not only is the screen larger, it brings that screen up to give good focus so that you have that posture, that good posture that will carry your student through and maybe help them out later in life and all of that stuff. There are giant magnifiers. These puppies you don't want to put in your backpack, but these guys up here, these will fold down and can be carried from class to class. Students can write underneath them. They have distance cameras. This camera is right here. This one, the distance camera kind of points outwards towards things. So they could read the board. There are other devices that are scanners. The scanning pen's a good one, but that's kind of harder a lot of times with kids who have low vision, just because you do have to follow the line, but there are devices that will scan an entire page. I talk about Braille displays a little bit. You can go back and look at that. But this is my shameless plug for our loan library. We have a lot of devices that can be loaned for one semester. They have to be submitted by the teacher of the vision impairment, and the LEA has to assume responsibility in case the student wants to turn it into a Frisbee. All of that standard stuff applies, but we do have it available. And I think I left an entire 5 minutes for you guys to hopefully independently look at AIM materials, because I didn't really think I'd have time for that, but